Hello, everybody. My name is Artur Korycinski. I would like to welcome you to the second edition of Im Studio, presented by the Austrian Cultural Forum in Warsaw, in partnership with the Unsound Festival, Krakow, and not only Krakow, because Unsound happens all around the world. My special guest is Susanne Kirchmayr, aka Electric Indigo, and I would like also to say hello to our host, who was also our host during our first edition, Jacek Sienkiewicz.
Hello, Artur.
Hello, Jacek.
Hello, Susanne. Nice to see you guys. Thank you.
Hello.
Nice to see you again. I'm happy that we are all here and that we are all alive. And yes, let's start our session, our music talk, with a little bit of music.
Okay, Susanne, good to see you again. I'm really glad to talk with you now. We met a couple of times in last probably 15 or even 20 years. That's great that we are here again.
Absolutely.
And I think you're the most known DJ from Austria, and probably in Austria. I don't know. Obviously connected also with the international scene and with the Berlin scene. As I remember, you started in early 90s. Actually, I think I remember you from Hardwax record store
that's funny. Yeah.
When I was there for the first time. It was probably 94 or 95. It was this small Hardwax. So you were in Berlin in early 90s then, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah.
So maybe just briefly you could just tell us about your beginnings, about your first couple of years, and why you choose that direction at the beginning.
I do that very quickly.
Yes.
I started in 1989 to DJ, and when I started I was very much into soul and funk and hip hop, all sorts of black music, and then I started to discover the German techno scene, and in particular also records from Chicago and Detroit, like Chicago house and Detroit techno, and in combination with the German club scene and Hardwax, that really like fascinated and enthusiasted me completely. And so I concentrated fully on my career as a techno DJ, and it was clear that Hardwax, the record store in Berlin, is kind of a mecca for electronic music. And,
it is.
And like I wanted to work there. I wanted to be in this central node of an international network. And finally, I got the chance. In '93, I got a call from Mark Ernestus, and he said, Helmut is going on vacation, and we need a vacation replacement for the mail order department. And so next day, I went to Berlin, and I started to work there. And since I'm very good at doing parcels, very accurate with packaging and stuff, I got an approval and could continue to work there even after Helmut came back from his vacation.
Okay.
So I lived there for 3 years, but these 3 years, 93 to 96, they feel like a lot longer. They have been really like super important for my identity as an electronic music artist.
Perfect. That's a good start, actually. And we won't talk about the past much. We need to focus about your current projects. But tell us a little bit about your Female Pressure project, which is the international network for like female artists in electronic music. Can you just tell us a little bit more about it?
It's actually not only for female artists, but rather for all kinds of genders who work in the electronic music and digital arts.
Of course.
And I founded it in 1998 because I was confronted so often with remarks about my gender, like people were astonished or surprised, or they were kind of offensive at times. And a lot of times I encountered the question, are there any other female DJs? And and that usually happened like in the middle of the night at 110 dB, and really like not ideal conditions for deep conversations, and also usually shortly before or after my DJ set. So my mind was somewhere else. And when I answered that question, I usually started to say some names of my friends and colleagues. And the next day I woke up and I was like, damn, I forgot to tell them about Miss Jax or another name, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So the idea grew that I needed a reliable source that can be accessed independently from time and location, so that I can refer to it the next time I get an ignorant question.
Yeah,
I can
sure.
say, hey, yeah, of course there are many other artists, and check the database we have on Female Pressure Net. And from that idea, it grew into the network that is today. We have, I think, almost 2,600 or 2,500 artists
impressive.
from 79 countries around the world. So even though the majority of the people listed in this database live in Europe, not all of them are originally from Europe. And we also have a lot of other countries listed in the database. So that makes me quite happy. And apart from that, it's a tool that everyone can use. The members who are part of the network can use it for mutual support and communication. But also other people who are not in the network can use it as a source of information. So it's a constant learning process, and it's a interesting project. And right now, of course, we have like a lot of discussions again about racism, and also how racism is present within the network. And so we repeatedly have like quite intense and very touching discussions that are a constant push to learn and educate myself, and for everyone else it's the same. So it can be quite intense sometimes.
Of course, I can imagine. It's an amazing work, and it's an amazing project, Susanne. Congratulations.
It's only that important and that big because so many people constantly contribute to it. So it wouldn't thrive that well if it weren't for all the other people who make it alive, you know.
Sure. Now let's go to the present time, actually, to your newest projects, which are not so club oriented, I would say. Your recent album was released this year on edition Mego, which is an amazing cutting-edge electronica label, also from Vienna, as I
Yes,
know.
that's right.
It's a label made by Peter Rechberg,
Exactly.
known as Pita, right? So it's an amazing, one of the most important new electronic labels and experimental labels. How it happened that you're on Mego? Probably it's a Vienna connection, but maybe how it happened that
Yeah.
this album came out on Mego.
It's quite funny because I've known Mego and Peter Rehberg for at least 25 years, and
Yeah, that's what I thought.
yeah, so the label is quite old, and at some point, I don't know, I never thought that Mego would be interested in releasing music from me. But as a matter of fact, after I had the chance to release my finally first album in 2018 on Robert Henke's label Imbalance Computer Music,
Yes.
Peter actually sent me feedback all of a sudden. I mean, I've seen him sometimes here and there, but we were in no way like really in touch. And then I get feedback from Peter that he liked my album, and I get feedback from Christian Fennes that he liked my album.
Yeah, of course.
So that made me quite happy already. And last year I already had developed like first iterations of Ferrum, the project we are going to talk about a bit more in depth in a minute. And I was invited to play a Sunday late afternoon concert, listening concert in a small club in Vienna that has a very nice PA called Das Werk. And Peter shows up, and he was in a super good mood and asked me, "Hey, do you have some music to release?" And I was like, yeah.
Of course.
It's the stuff I'm going to play next in the concert that hasn't been released, and it's new and it's not fully developed yet, but you listen to it, and if you like it, let's talk. And then he liked the concert, and we met for breakfast another day, and it was a fixed deal immediately. And I must say that working with Editions Mego and with Peter has been extremely pleasant for me, because Peter is really, if he wants something or is convinced of something, then he acts quick and without hesitation. And so, for example, he was immediately up for, or even suggested, that Tina Frank would do the cover, and that we could use like Pantone colors for the cover. So there was no trying to cut down the costs and stuff like that. And
of course, yeah.
That was amazing. So we could do a double vinyl and a beautifully colored cover with my own artwork that Tina Frank took and developed a bit further and added like the graphic design elements to it. So all in all, it was a fantastic experience. But of course, Corona came in between my happiness and the release of the album, because release
it was
party,
March this year, right?
Yes, the release date was 13th of March, Friday the 13th, and the release party was supposed to happen on the 12th of March in Berlin. And it got cancelled. It was actually one of the first parties that got cancelled due to Corona in Berlin. That's the story, the background story, how it came about.
Of course. So here we are with your newest Ferrum release, and let's start with it. Why Ferrum? Why Ferrum? Tell us a little bit about the whole concept, like sound concept. I might say.
Yeah, it has to do actually with having finally made the first album, which is a collection of works and derivative works thereof from 2012 to 2017 or something. So over a long time, I collected material and I tried to pinpoint it and get it into a right shape. And it was sometimes a very difficult and long-lasting process because the material was already so old, and it's hard to find a little bit of distance and re-evaluate what you're hearing if you already know it by heart. And basically, sometimes it happens, maybe you know this as well, that you can't stand something anymore because you heard it too often.
Of course.
Anyhow, and my music is not the easiest music in the world, so it's so yeah, after having finished this and it was out and I was quite happy with it, I felt really free and to do something completely new from scratch and something more coherent in a way. And I thought, what could it be? And one of my favorite approaches to making music is to have like one very simple and limiting core idea of what I want to do. In the past, that was, for example, make a 30 minutes piece out of only recordings of spoken language in different languages, for example. And this time I thought, well, maybe I take a similar approach, but with a different audio type of audio material. And metallic sounds are always super. I don't know any people who don't like the sound of metallic objects and who don't like insect sounds.
Of course. Yeah.
So everybody likes that, at least everybody in the electronic music scene. So I think the particular interest in the sound of metal objects is that they have something very harsh to it, and of course the industrial connotations, but there are always these like singing overtones as well.
Yes.
So that makes it, I think, particularly interesting in a way, or fascinating. So I thought, okay, I want to do I want to do a new piece that is made fully out of recordings from metallic objects, and thought about this and that name. And iron is very much used, and so I came up with ferrum, which is the Latin word for iron, and that made sense already. So I started to do that, and it developed really quickly because I had the chance to play a few concerts on very good PA systems with the first iterations while developing the work. And I think that is the biggest luck of all, if you can try out in public and on a good system what you're working on, because for me that is really the point when I start to get a grasp on the material and when I understand what I'm doing. Because sometimes you do I do something and I'm not quite sure what it is supposed to be, and then when I play it, it becomes a lot clearer because I feel it. And in the studio, often I don't feel it, and we won't really feel it here on GT sound on the headphones. True. But so I played it for Art's birthday the first time. That was a very short version in January last year. last year. And then I played at the Electric Spring Festival in Huddersfield, which is like a very nice festival for electronic music in the academic context. And I could try out 8-channel surround sound with it.
Okay.
That was really inspiring. And then I had another great occasion. I could play at the State Opera in Stuttgart.
Oh, fantastic.
For the long night of minimal music. And
perfect.
Also with 8-channel, very nice sound system. And so, yeah, that all gave me like very positive feedback and the spirit to work on it and further on. And then Peter's reaction, of course. So that's how it came about. And in the beginning, it was also clear to me I wanted to do an audio-visual live set from scratch because somehow by accident I started to make videos for my first album, and I found out that crossfades between just simple still images of colors create some interesting artifacts. And I wanted to do this for Ferrum as well, and try to develop a technique or a method to play that live, because with the other album it wasn't live. I made the video clips beforehand, and then I just triggered single loops of these ready-made video clips. But now I actually found a way how to make a similar kind of video actually live. Everything is live now, and that was of course also a challenge.
So you will have to tell us later more about the video thing, but now we can just move to the more technical aspects of this album, because we said before that it was made mostly using granular synthesizers. It's your main tool for this project. Is that correct?
Not quite, because it was the main method for the first album, 511, 593. And this time I also worked a lot with native, like very native instruments within Ableton Live, just sampler and simpler. And but with a lot of modulation options that come with it. So I used various kinds of transforming audio sample material in Ferrum. And one very prominent effect, I would say, which is a Max for Life device. I can show you right away.
Okay, so we can watch it on the screen with Ableton Live. Is that correct?
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yeah.
It's a lot of tracks actually.
It became even more because I have a drum rack, and I use a drum rack here. And then I noticed it gets really complicated to spatialize a drum rack. So if that live set would be for stereo only, I would have 4 tracks less.
I see, yeah.
So the bass drum, of course, is mono, and snare and hi-hat and all the other percussions, they are spatialized in different ways, and I didn't want to do it the same way for everything.
Yeah, we can see the surround device, in the right corner.
Exactly.
The sound panel,
Yeah, but we can't hear it now because
we
are only on stereo.
Yeah.
And then another reason why I have so many tracks is that I use a lot of helper tracks. You see that on the right side here, there are my return tracks, and they're really little because they're actually only for routing purposes.
I see.
The device I wanted to show you is like an unreleased Max for Life device by Robert Henke, and it does really nice re-pitches for left and right, so very stereo with buffering and delay effects that I really like a lot. And whenever I want to have a sound go into the pitch loop, then I send it to send 3, and from there it goes in 2 tracks, in 2 instances of the pitch loop.
Okay.
And that is because for the front speakers, I have one setting, left and right, and for the back speakers, so again, that's for the purpose of surround sound, I have a slightly different setting of the pitch loop device. So the same signal goes into 2 instances of the same device that are whose parameters are tweaked.
Slightly different. Yeah.
Slightly different.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe we want to have a look at it.
Of course. Let's check
how that sounds. So let's see. Okay, that is like an atmospheric sound created here with Borderlands Granular. And if I constantly send the Borderlands Granular sounds, which are usually atmospheric kind of things,
okay. We need to talk about the Borderlands because maybe some of our...
Yeah, I can show you.
Yeah, because maybe some of the visitors don't know what it is really. Borderlands.
Yeah.
Borderlands. It's a brilliant application for an iPad, which is another granular synthesizer.
Exactly.
To be honest, it's a good example of how iPad might be super useful for making electronic music. And it's a good reason to buy it, actually.
Yeah. I know it, I didn't buy it, but it was a birthday present, iPad, and I wanted it for Borderlands Granular.
Yeah,
because
that's it.
The app makes such excellent use of the interface. So to explain, what I have in the back is the underlying audio file that is being granulated. And each of these sweet-looking circles and dots is a so-called grain cloud. That means it's processing the underlying audio. And of course, you can make use of the touch screen, but you can also make use of the gyroscopic features that the iPad has. So the grain clouds can have a certain gravity, and depending on how you hold the iPad, they fall around quicker or less quick, and in this direction or the other direction.
Yeah, that's
so
fun.
You can, and that's really great. I love to use this for my live acts because it creates something similar but constantly a bit different.
Of course, yeah, it's amazing.
That's really nice. So this is and you can organize it with scenes. So I have here my scenes, and this is Ferrum 3 scene, which is actually the first scene I use in my live set. And there, these grayed out clouds, they are actually only active when I touch them. So if you want to hear it separately, this is how this cloud sounds. And this one does this sound. So you can really play it with your hands, and you can also not really take care of it, and it plays by itself. So that's quite nice about it.
And is it connect directly to your computer then? How it's
Yes.
yeah.
What I normally have is an aggregated audio device, because I do not only need my iPad to connect live, but also my sound card, of course.
Mm-hmm.
So that works together, and with the aggregated audio device is actually the way how to integrate your iPad just as an external synthesizer that you would maybe use with just connecting audio cables to your audio interface, which in my case is a Moto MK4 that I have not activated because I can't use it now, because the sound is going through SoundCloud and not through my audio device right now. So the setup is
slightly different
right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. And yeah, that's how I connect it to live. So it's coming in through channel 7. So the pitch loop sounds like this. I will do this to pre, so we can sing it, listen it. So this is one version of it. And this is on the other side of the room.
Okay.
And together, and I actually use this extensively in my set, and also on the production of the album. And live, of course I can play around with the parameters here, and add feedback, and play with filters and the length of the samples. So that's a very rewarding element for the live set, actually, because it's quite trippy and weird.
I just wanted to say that it's really trippy. So
yeah.
I love it. It's amazing. I love the sound.
Yeah, but
okay, so that's the basic setup for the audio, right?
Yes, that's
in
the
your
basic
project
setup for the audio.
So
and of course it's a bit complicated with like a lot of chains with different settings for each sound. As you can see here, for example, I make instrument racks and
some dynamic processors and
yes,
as I see,
for example, for the next track, this uses a different effects, and that goes in a different chain. So yeah.
Okay, so here is the audio part, and how it is connected with the other part, which is video.
Yeah, I will show you.
What maybe we can start with the software you're using for a video. What's the name of the software exactly?
The name of the software is VDMX, and we are right now looking at the interface of VDMX, and it's a really cool software because it's extremely versatile, and it has a very clear underlying principle of these little windows that you can combine in very different, in pretty much any kind of layout that you like, and you can automate anything in there. So and that's that once you understood how it works in principle, it's super easy to do all sorts of manipulations or automations or MIDI controlling or OSC controlling. And as I mentioned before already, what I wanted to do in principle is to constantly fade between layers of gradients to be precise. And right here you see what is loaded for layer 1. It's a gradient that goes from, you see it, from white to kind of lilac. And the other layer goes from dark gray to very light gray in the other corner. And that's one of the most, what interests me is very like slow, or most of the times very slow and subtle changes. And what I want to achieve, so I trigger these 2 layers here. These are all my video tracks that I need for controlling the video. So whenever I trigger a scene in live, trigger a set of layers and some OSC messages for the crossfader between the layers. And that's really handy because there is this connection kit.
So excuse me, so it's connected through MIDI, right?
Yes and no.
Okay.
I trigger the layers with MIDI nodes.
Yeah.
And so this one is triggering layer 1.
I see.
And you can see here which triggers I assigned to which layers. There are a lot of layers in the set. So these are all the layers that I have. And I trigger them with MIDI nodes that come through a particular MIDI channel, actually, because I don't have enough MIDI nodes to trigger, like for each layer, enough images. And so the connection is via MIDI for some things, and it's via OSC messages for the other things. And OSC message is the first time with this project I started to work with OSC, but it's
maybe
super
we should explain what it is actually. OSC.
I don't know, but it's a protocol. Basically, it must be a protocol that communicates between various applications of a computer, and can also communicate via through a network. So, for example, you can connect 2 computers that are further away from each other with Ethernet or a local area network, and send OSC messages from one computer to control something that is happening on the other computer. But I actually don't know what the acronym stands for, OSC. I don't know. I didn't look into this. But it works in a super easy way, because you just give it a name that makes sense to you, a parameter that you, or a control value that you have. And for example, for the crossfader, that is called, it's the same name that it has in VDMX. It's TCM. That is the name that the crossfader here has in VDMX, and therefore I called it VCM. And then I just map some do you call that, where you control things like a knob or a button on a synthesizer. So you can map any of these parts with similar to how you map a MIDI controller in live.
Okay.
You're probably familiar with that. So it's very similar to that. And then I can control the crossfader. Yeah, it goes from the crossfader from the level 1 on the left side to what is loaded in layer 2 on the right side. So that's basically what happens with the TCM. But there are also some other effects that I can do, like flip, and I can actually, whatever I want, I can control with OSC. I have, for example, in case I want to use that, there is a graphic design that Tina Frank made. It's this cube and I added it as an additional layer so I can control whether it appears or not. And for the end, for example, I thought it might be nice if I give Mego credits. So I added another Mego layer with the logo, so I can manually just add this if I feel like. Yeah, so I use OSC and MIDI. But I can also use, for example, audio. I don't need this in this set, but I could use internal audio routing with Soundflower, for example, and send audio from the Ableton Live set into VDMX and have some effect, maybe a shake in the other set for 511, 593. I use occasionally a shake effect, so the image shakes, for example, with the bass drum a little bit.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
So there are many ways to connect two apps, and it works really pretty smooth. It works fine, absolutely, and very plug and play for someone who has never done it before. It was quite easy for me to find it out, also because there are a lot of tutorials online for VDMX, and it's very affordable too. So that's how I connected.
Okay, is it your whole setup for your audio video live performance? So it's just one laptop with audio video software plus
Yes.
plus iPad with Borderlands software.
Exactly.
Do you use any external other external devices or effects?
Yes, so I have Borderlands and I have quite a few MIDI controllers. They are quite dark right now. You don't see it. I put some more
Nano
light
Cork, Nano Control or something like this. Yeah.
Light went off.
No problem. We see.
We can still see it. All good.
Okay.
Susanne.
Okay. So but it's really dark. I use Ableton Push, but I had to disconnect it from the live set because of my power connector that is not working properly, and I needed the input. I have a lot of inputs occupied here. So fucking lamp. Sorry, excuse my French. Damn it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice like this. It's not like this properly. Actually. So there is Ableton Push.
Maybe like this is better.
Yeah.
So I control, for example, the pitch loop here with the Ableton Push, and here it is. And I have as I said, I have this drum rack, and I play drums live also. And I love this function with, I can't show you because it's not connected to the drum rack.
Yeah, sure.
But there is this lovely repeat function, and I love the sensitivity of the pads. So that's a really sweet thing. Quite practical in the studio, but a bit heavy and a bit too big for my purpose, actually, for playing live. But I still bring it all the time. And then I have my audio card, which is very dark right now, but here it is.
Yeah,
and then this is actually where I my stand for the phone. Right now, and I can't use it because I can't use the audio card. So I have an external effects unit, Eventide Space, which is a really like sick sounding, great sounding, very particular, trippy
reverb. Yes, I know it. Very nice. I have the delay from Eventide. Same.
Yeah, they are really nice, these stump boxes. So
stump
that's
boxes.
my live setup, and it's actually quite a lot because I don't have so many hands. So I only have two hands, and there are already quite a few things.
Yeah, it looks perfect.
So here you're sitting now on the on the Eventide stomp box. And I'd like to show you what I do with follow actions. Are you familiar with follow actions? I love the follow actions.
Yeah.
They're really like great. And I use it also for audio at some point. Here, for example, that's Ferrum 7. And it is for randomization of which pattern is going to play so that it sounds different every time. And it means that it's randomly triggering another clip. And so that's the track. And I also use it. I turn it off for now. I also use it for the video clips because I do not want to have the same sequence over and over again, but I want to have it like change in not really predictable ways. So I have all these like triggers for layers in
yes. So maybe
BDMX.
let's show where it is for those who don't know where it is in Ableton, like the follow action option. Maybe let's just show it.
It's here in the launch part of the clip control, and you can trigger it, I think, here with this little button.
Yeah.
And follow action is noted here, and here you can determine how many bars or parts of the bars it takes until which action is done, either next or other or any. The difference between any and other is like that if any, it could play again.
Yes.
And yeah, so you have different follow actions, and then you have a probability field here. So 1 means it's always doing this follow action that I selected right above, and 0 means it's never doing the follow action above. And the fun thing is, which I actually have never used, but it is also really sweet. You can give it a second follow action. For example, instead of next, you say it should play any. And you say the probability should be 2 here and 3 here. So out of 5 cases, it does 3 times the left follow actions and 2 times the right follow action.
Yeah, it's a great tool it's a multi-purpose tool actually for drums, for samples, and yeah, I really like it.
You can use it. I use it for randomization, but in other contexts, I also used it. For example, if I have a break that I want to happen always in the same way, then I might do that with follow actions in clips.
Yeah.
For example.
Yeah, let's see how it works, maybe.
Yeah, it's doing its stuff like.
It's there. It's somewhere
it's there. Okay.
Yeah.
It's there. It's there. It's there.
now you hear what just this one does. This one you know already. And this is the third one. And of course, with all these different sounds, I have them come from different corners of the room, and so you're like surrounded, rhythmically surrounded by these sounds in the surround sound live set.
Mm-hmm. And how you can handle it on one computer? Is it any problem to have like both video and audio software on one machine?
It was a problem with my old computer, with the 2015 MacBook Pro.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I decided for the premiere of 511-593, I decided to buy this one. And that's a 2017 computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I played with two computers and connected them with Ethernet, so I had even more cables and stuff here.
Yeah.
But then at some point when I was just, I don't know what I wanted to do. It really happened by accident that I found out, I think I wanted to edit some videos or refine the videos because the colors were too pale in the beginning, I thought, and I added some LUTs, which are some color grading little things that you can add on the layer, and then the colors are more flashy and or however you depending on which filter you choose. So it's basically like filters that are not expensive in terms of CPU. So I adapted the audio part of the live set to get a bit stronger colors. And so I worked this at first was only my video computer, the new one. And I wanted to hear the sound too. So I just started the live set and I found out that the live set, while doing also processing the video part, is actually taking less CPU. You know, in live you always have in the upper right corner the CPU load. It's taking less CPU than the old computer with only the live set. So I was like, okay, I don't need to.
That's a difference. That's a difference.
Yeah. One computer is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can we see some video examples now, how it works?
So here you can see the follow actions for the video layers.
Ah, beautiful.
Okay, it's still doing. Must be off.
Fantastic.
So it does its follow actions, and I drew some curves here for some LUT effect and some other effects that I use. These are all OSC messages, and here is the movement of the crossfader as an optimization for the OSC message that moves the crossfader in VDMX, as you can see here. So that's basically it. And
yeah, it works really well, as I see.
And here I start to play with the music. So what I do live is actually I articulate the music, but I do not do anything really. I could theoretically, but practically I don't do anything with the video really.
Mm-hmm.
So I have it generated live, but in a pre-programmed way, so to say. And so I'm flexible with the length, but I do not actually play with the video while I play live. I play with the audio. Here in these tracks, these are all samplers with funny modulations. And I must say that I really like the modulation options of the sampler.
Mm-hmm.
Because that it makes it like so rich in sounds and like everything that sounds weird is coming from the modulations. Yeah. And then we have the next piece, etc.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's really hypnotic, I have to say.
It's wonderful. It's totally hypnotic.
And the aim that I have with these kind of videos that do not show much. I mean, some videos are a bit more, you can see like contrast, like the one we just saw, but others are really just like super subtle. And what I want to achieve is actually with the biggest projection possible, ideally like a full wall of the room behind the stage, or however you can set it up.
like Berlin Atonal kind
very
of
huge
style. Yeah, huge
projection
screen.
in relation to the room. So ideally it should fill the wall.
I see.
To create more light and color in the space, rather than show some objects or motives. So that's the aim, to give color and light. And what I would love to do someday, but that will be really something where I would need like some more technical equipment and some space to try out, is to develop this visual idea of colors and space further, and work on a live act where I can combine video, as for example here, together with controlling LED lights in color so that I can immerse the whole room in
It's
colors.
great.
Yeah,
That's a great
I would
idea.
love to do that.
Yeah, you will do it probably.
Yeah, maybe. That would be great.
Susanne, maybe we could see some other examples of the video, or some like other track or something like this, because
Sure.
the video is video software combined with Ableton Live. It's really interesting for me as well.
For me as well.
Yeah. Sorry.
It looks fantastic. Would love to hear it.
It looks amazing. Let's hope we
Yeah.
can watch it on a big screen at a
and the
brilliant
pro on
festival
the, on
here
the proper
or
sound
there.
system. Yeah.
Exactly, but
Yeah.
wow, this is something. And it's all the material from the last album,
Yeah.
what we just witnessed,
Yeah,
right?
it was just released on, as we said, on Mego,
Yes,
and
March,
it's
mid-March.
mid-March, and it's available on Electric Indigo Bandcamp, as I think, as I saw, and on Mego Records from Vienna, right?
Uh-huh.
So,
Okay.
and I think we can. I think it's an amazing your music and the fantastic video is it's the best moment to finish, I think, our session. I would like to say a big thank you to you, Susanne, and of course our host Jacek in the name of the Austrian Cultural Forum Warsaw.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Artur, for that.
It's always a pleasure to invite you, Jacek, and it's such an honor to have you back, Susanne. We had our last pre-corona party in Warsaw during the unique Not Skobiet. You remember? That's how we met. I just wanted to say also that I remember you from Berlin when I was a teenager, and I think you DJ'd at the electro music department, or maybe Friseur. And yes, and it was magic. Your evolution is incredible to move from the electronic music dance scene to the avant-garde and to combine both. But I hope that we will manage something here in Poland or in Austria and all in the whole world.
And we will meet all there.
Yeah, that would be fantastic.
Yes, we will do it.
I want to thank everyone for bearing with me and bearing with the technical difficulties that we had. But yeah, I guess it's a experimental format here.
It was a great session. And once again, thank you, Susanne. Thank you, Jacek.
Susanne, it was great to see you. Keep in touch.
Keep in touch.
Goodbye. I hope to see you in real life very soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Do widzenia, dziękujemy.
Oh, real people there.
Dziękujemy wam pięknie. Thank you. Dankeschön und auf Wiedersehen. Ciao, ciao.
Pa, dzięki. Thank you.
Dziękujemy.
Dzięki, Łukasz.
Dziękujemy
Cześć.
Łukaszowi z Unsoundu oczywiście. Buziaki. It's super sweet to see you. Bye bye.